So the rules have been set for the debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. We're going to let Ian Sams, the senior national spokesman for the Harris campaign, talk. If you ever wanted to see a man with a mental disorder, here you go.
National spokesman for the Harris Walls campaign and a former White House staffer. Ian, thanks so much for being with me this afternoon. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
We are going to talk policy, of course, but I have to start with Tuesday's all-important debate. We have learned now that the rules are set. The microphones will be turned off when the other person is speaking. We know that that's not what you guys were pushing for. So tell me what your reaction is to this.
Like, I gotta stop it already. Democrats are crying because they don't want the mics to be muted when another person is talking. And who's the real threat to democracy again? Right? Don't they say Donald Trump is a threat to democracy? Democrats don't want the mics to be muted when the other person is talking. Let that sink in. The party that claims that they're all about freedom of speech. It's just the Democratic Party is one big mental disorder.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing. I think the vice president really felt strongly about having the microphones unmuted so that the American people could see a real debate with real exchanges between the two candidates back and forth. I think you think about the sort of...
No, what would happen is she would just talk over Trump the entire time and not let him get a word in. And, I'm speaking. That's Kamala's big moment because she has no policy. She would do the woman thing, like, you're trying to talk over me because I'm a woman, so now I'm going to dominate you and be disrespectful and not let you talk, right? I'm speaking. The big Kamala Harris moment in politics is when she had a debate with Mike Pence, and the entire time, excuse me, I'm speaking. And Democrats ran with that as she's a strong woman and a strong candidate. Like, this guy, he's nothing but a... You ever notice that all these communist little weasel clowns, they all look like just so pathetically weak? Because that's what communists are. They're cowards and they're weak. So they have to strip other people of their rights and oppress them and hide behind their power.
Viral moments of her that people remember from her time in the Senate, where Trump appointees were before the Judiciary Committee, the way she's incisive in her questioning, asking them to draw out the truth and the facts about what they are talking about. Having that taken away.
No props or notes, no teleprompters for Kamala. Oh my God. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to see this disaster. No props or no props or teleprompters or notes. That's Kamala Harris's whole life, right? A prop. She's a prop. She's literally a prop. That's why she got her job. You break. Oh, no audience, of course, because, fragile Kamala couldn't handle people in the audience laughing at her for her incompetence. Like, Trump wouldn't even care. He's like, Trump could do this in a frat house and people are swinging off chandeliers, riding in on elephants naked, and he could care less. But, Kamala's gonna save America.
From her in this debate is a challenge. And I think, we wish that the Trump campaign had understood that these are two different candidates than there were a few months ago, and that it was very clear that the Trump campaign wanted to keep a muzzle on their candidate so that they could try to instill some discipline. I think they were worried about what might happen in those exchanges with the vice president.
My God.
And we're trying to sort of keep him under control. And I think, look
at Timmy Walls. He's just so pathetic. He's just such a pathetic, spineless weasel human being. Come on, Timmy. What's gonna be your contribution to American history? Oh, hi, I'm Timmy Waltz, and I put tampons in Ben's bathroom. Wow. That's Ronald Reagan-esque, huh?
To their point, it's probably good for them. It's probably helpful. It's going to help Donald Trump stay under control and calmer and more disciplined and restrained. In June, for example, in the debate, he lied over and over again, but maybe he seemed a little bit more normal because he couldn't be interrupting and interjecting all the time. And so, look, this is
Trump lied in the debate over and over and over again in June. This is the face. This is the poster boy of a mental disorder. Like it's just so pathetic. It's even more pathetic that the race could even be this close. So I have a question for especially liberal zombies. Right? Let's say you have a daughter. Do you feel safe letting your daughter walk down the street alone in America in 2024? Do you feel safe letting your daughter on a subway in a Democratic ran liberal city? Do you feel safe if your daughter was going to like NYU or the University of Southern California or she was in San Francisco? Because if you say yes, that you think you feel that your child is safe or you're not concerned about your daughter, especially if you have a daughter, you have a mental disorder. You have a mental disorder. You're a horrible human being.
This is a guy who's a showman. I think he knows how to perform in debates like this. I think he knows how to get ready for the big lights on TV. And he's a very experienced debater at this point. This is his seventh general election presidential debate, which is probably the most of anybody in history. And I think that we're looking to see that they're probably ready to have him seem a little bit more restrained and normal for the country.
Ian, I hear you trying to lower.
Oh yeah, Democrats are just so normal, right? Is that what you're saying, Mr. Ian Sams? Joe Biden's normal. Kamala Harris is normal. Your policies are normal. Wait, you're the party of normalization, and Trump is just plain old weird and psychotic, right? Is that what you want us all to believe? Disgrace. You're a disgrace. This is the face of a disgrace.
Lower expectations. Is there a reason you're doing that?
It's interesting, this like lowering expectations question. I mean, Donald Trump is in Sean Hannity's town hall in Pennsylvania attacking ABC, claiming conspiracy theories about we're going to get the questions ahead of time. And, people aren't really talking about that as Donald Trump lowering expectations.
Well, to be fair, we are talking about that too. But since I'm interviewing you, I just want to put the question to you. Why are you lowering expectations?
I'm just telling the truth. I think it's
you're telling the truth, right?
Dispiriting that the mute button is going to be on for the debate and prevent the candidates from being able to go back and forth. But look, regardless of that, the vice president is going to come to the debate ready to talk about the choice in the election, the choice between his economic vision and her economic vision. Trickle down and big corporations and big billionaires getting tax cuts, help for small business and working people. She's going to paint the choice of the vision. She's going to talk about how we can turn the page on Donald Trump and move it.
All right, I have some bad news for liberals and Democrats. You know why Trump gives tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires? Because they create jobs for people. No poor person in the history of the world has ever created a job for anybody. So if you want to tax the elite to death and you want to put all these restrictions for their businesses, you know what they say? F you. I'll go take my business to this country. I'm out of here. And then middle class Americans lose out on those jobs. So Donald Trump is never going to raise taxes on people making less than $100,000 a year, $200,000. Like, it's just nothing but a lie. And, Elon Musk is the most heavily taxed person on the planet. Like, he pays ridiculous amounts of taxes. So Kamala, she's going to get up there and she's for the people and Trump is for himself and he's for billionaires and trillionaires. Who creates all the jobs in America? Oh, let me guess. The poor do, right, Kamala? Poor people create jobs. Disgrace. Yeah, Ian Sams, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Democratic Party, all they do is lie, and they're a disgrace.
Into the future with a new way forward for the country. Those are things she's going to be ready to talk about. She's excited to be able to do
Yeah,
that.
sure she is.
I think that it's just a matter of, as we talk about the rules, talking about some of the unfortunate decisions I think that were made to continue pushing for the muted microphones by the Trump campaign.
Let me ask you now about some policy. Obviously, the vice president has been rolling out the details of her economic policy.
She has no
She's
plan.
signaled that she supports part of President Biden's proposed budget that contains new tax policy. So, question for you, this is a yes or no question. Does that include his billionaire's minimum tax that would effectively tax unrealized capital gains for Americans with wealth above $100 million?
Yeah, well, the vice president actually talked about this yesterday. I think that she sees the proposals she put forward on capital gains and investment in entrepreneurship and startups in this country as appropriate in balance with the suite of proposals that she's also for, which include.
No, the way to have your America earn money is to put a tariff from all the out of country goods that come into our country. Not to tax millionaire, trillionaire, billionaire entrepreneurs and business owners in our own country. Kamala has no plan. She has as much of a plan for taxes and the economy, just like her border plan. Absolute disaster. That's what Kamala Harris is, an absolute disaster and a fraud.
Includes a billionaire minimum tax, which includes quadrupling taxes on stock buybacks, which includes.
So that's a yes, Gian, just to be clear, that's a yes?
He can't answer the question.
Corporate tax rate. We saw Trump today talk about this. Yeah, she said that she's for the billionaire minimum tax and stressed that again yesterday. And I think, again, the reason I put all these things together is.
Yeah, she's for taxing millionaires, billionaires, and business owner more money because she's never created anything in her life to make real money. Right? She's a corrupt politician, just like Joe Biden. She's not an entrepreneur like Donald Trump. So what do these clowns do? They tax the creative. They tax the entrepreneur. They tax the people who are inventors of amazing products and visions for America because they have none. You know, Kamala Harris gets all her money through kickbacks and schemes and private donors who want give her money, so she puts certain rules in place that destroy the country. She has no plan. She's a train wreck.
I think she rejects the false choice that we can either be for using the tax code to foster investment and growth in our startup and entrepreneur community and taking on those at the very top and the very wealthy. She thinks that we can do both. And she thinks that some of the proposals that we've seen, including President Biden's budget blueprint of 39.6% for those long-term capital gains, that's a little bit too high for how she sees how we can incentivize investing in startups and entrepreneurs. But when it comes to things like the billionaire minimum tax, the raising the corporate tax.
This is Kamala Harris's plan, right? Start your business, and then when you start making super high amounts of money, I'm going to tax you to death and take it. That's Kamala's plan. Makes sense, right? Here, I'm going to help you start a business. So when you make large sums of money, I can take it all. Wonderful plan, Kamala. I mean, brilliant. Brilliant. But what would you expect? I wouldn't expect anything less. She is, put it this way, she's more radical than Bernie Sanders. She's more radical than Liz Warren, whatever her name is, Liz Warren or Warren, I don't even, who cares? She's the most radical Democrat out of all the Democrats. Her and Alexandria Cortez, the other stupidest person on the planet, have a tax proposal where they tax American workers up to 80% of their salary. And Kamala Harris said, well, she's an innovator of ideas, and that needs to be looked into. That's what you're getting with this radical.
Rate, the stock buyback tripling or quadrupling, the rate on those. That's a suite of really strong proposals that targets those at the very top to ensure that we create more revenue to pay for really important priorities for the middle class.
Yeah, okay.
Take me to my next.
Right. So their plan is to tax the rich who give people jobs, to give it to people who don't work and refuse to educate themselves. That's Democrats' plan. Democrats' plan is this. When you get off your ass every day and you work your ass off and you become a millionaire, whatever the money you get, Democrats, we got to take your money to give it to other people who don't do shit with their lives and, don't want to educate themselves and don't want to work. And according to Kamala, everybody needs to end up in the same place, whether you study to be a doctor or whether, you refuse to work and you sit home and drink all day. Everybody needs to make the same amount of money and everybody needs to end up in the same place. That's a Marxist. Kamala Harris is a radical Marxist.
Next question, because you're talking about entrepreneurs and startups, and Congressman Khanna actually pushed back on the idea, saying exactly that this is going to stifle startups, that it could hurt entrepreneurs.
Exactly.
How do you counter
Exactly.
that, and quite frankly, that opposition coming from within your own party. One of her top surrogates saying that.
Well, I was watching Congressman Khanna actually yesterday talk about her proposal that she announced in New Hampshire about the lower capital gains rate than what President Biden has proposed, and he was saying that he thinks this makes sense. That this is a
There you go. No, he never
suite
said.
of proposals and a smart plan to help small businesses and increase entrepreneurship and startups in this country. And so, I think that every Democrat and every Republican aren't going to agree on everything. But I think that at the end of the day, Congressman Khanna, many other Democrats have spoken out to say Vice President Harris is putting forward a real plan that helps small businesses and working people, which is such a contrast to what we're seeing from President Trump. And you guys talked about this with Vaughn, his announcements at the New York Economic Club, where he's pushing even more tax cuts for corporations, even more tax cuts for those at the top. So it's just a really stark difference between the two.
Let me ask you, broadly speaking, because she has put out a number.
So let's clear that up. People in Kamala's own party are saying your ideas are going to hurt business owners and small startup businesses. Go figure. What's it going to be like? Is it going to be like Build Back Better? Like Joe Biden's Build Back Better? Just the sound of it tells you how stupid he is. Oh yeah, Build Back Better is going great. Gas is $3.50 a gallon. A piece of steak is $30. Your rent went up. Your fuel costs went up. Everything went up because when you don't drill, baby, drill, as Trump would say, and you have to get oil and gas from other countries that don't even like us, the price of everything goes up. But Kamala and Joe can't. They know that, but they don't care because their only plan is to hurt America and American citizens because they hate this country. It's so funny that people that hate this country have benefited the most. Barack Obama, Joe Biden has been stealing and being corrupt longer than anybody in the entire country. For about 50 to 60 years, the entire Biden crime family has done nothing but take bribes, commit crime, and benefit off their position in government.
Of proposals, including a ban on price gouging, as you just laid out, a smaller increase in the capital gains tax. But how should people think about a Harris administration as compared to a Biden administration? Where will the big differences be? Will there be any big differences, Ian?
Well, yeah, you're starting to see some of these areas where they disagree a little bit on how
it'll be worse
policies
around
done.
the edges.
She doesn't like it.
I think at the end of the day, they're very different candidates. I think the country and voters view them as different people. I think that people can see that President Biden and Vice President Harris aren't the same person. And I think that when Vice President Harris talks about her values and
they're not the same people. One is horrible and one is extremely horrible. And if you think it's bad now under Biden, wait till she gets elected. It's such a joke that she's like, they're trying to make it sound like Democrats are trying to make it sound like, oh, if Kamala gets elected, it's going to get so much better. No, it's going to get 20,000 times worse.
Priorities. When you think about something like the price gouging,
there he is.
This is someone who spent 15 years.
It just pooped in my pants. Where am I?
Taking on special interests, big, powerful interests on behalf of regular people who've been wronged by them. And so you can think about her policy proposals in terms of understanding that there are really big power.
I hate even looking at his face. He's like, what just came in? Oh, something's in my underwear. What is that? Oh, God.
Interests out there who are screwing over regular people. And we need to actually use our policy programs to take them on in order to give relief to some people. That's something that I think we haven't.
Oh yeah, Democrats are all about the people.
4 years, but again, I think there's places that she can continue to roll out ideas and talk about for the American people. It may be a little bit of a distinction from President Biden, and I think the other thing is putting forward ideas that grow on and expand upon progress that we've may under President Biden.
Ian, let me ask. Yeah,
I don't think.
Ian, what progress has the country made under President Biden? What the hell are you talking about? What progress? Oh yeah, Kamala and Joe are for the people. Is that why you have a southern border wide open where criminals and terrorists are just walking into the country, murdering, sexually assaulting? And, a terrorist attack was stopped the other day in New York City, and people are saying it's only going to get worse. But you're for the American people, right, Kamala? The same person that wants to abolish ICE, that wants to, get rid of the police force, that's for the citizens of America. What the hell citizens are you talking about that you're so concerned with those radical ideologies and policies, Kamala? Can anybody answer the question? Who are they concerned about? Because it definitely isn't American citizens. Seems like to me they're more concerned about illegals, about telling illegals, hey, I don't care where you're from, what country you're from. If you come into this country illegally, you broke the law. You're going to be arrested and deported. And by the way, we're not going to give you, you're incentivizing people to break the law. Oh, when you come here, here's a car, here's healthcare, here's a place to live. It's as simple as this. If you come into this country illegally, you broke the law. You should be arrested immediately. You should be put on a plane, deported immediately. You should be barred from ever coming back to the country, and you shouldn't be given anything but one meal until you're back in your country. No, but what does America do? Oh, we're going to give you business loans. We're going to give you cars. We're going to give you health care. We're going to give you housing. You know why they're doing all that? Because Democrats think if we give these people everything for free, even though they broke the law, they'll vote for us for the rest of their lives. That's why.
Has to be, I think there's a little bit of a shorthanding that maybe there's some massive break or something. I think there are places where they disagree. They're different candidates. But at the end of the day, there have been amazing successes under this administration.
Oh, yeah, amazing success.
How to build on that and to talk to the American people about her own
Look at Joe. He looks like a
vision
crypt keeper.
that is unique to her as a candidate.
Ian, I want to ask you about price gouging because
Looks
a
great.
lot of questions about how practically that would play out. For example, would the government set a maximum price on food and groceries?
No, I think that the Republicans now suddenly, which is actually
Here we go. The food supermarkets are not price gouging. Stores are not price gouging. When the cost of fuel goes up, everything else is more expensive. It's just typical Democratic lies and spin. Nobody's price gouging. If fuel is more expensive, the prices go up for everything, so the price of the item goes up. It's kindergarten economics 101. But Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, they just lie because they know that. It's their policies. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris policies are what's driving the cost of everything through the roof, not price gouging.
Interesting. Let's talk about this for a second. Donald Trump and Republicans have been attacking her for somehow this is price controls, which it isn't. Economists have come out and said it absolutely isn't.
But economists have also expressed concerns with the plan.
But what's interesting about this price
just
gouging
talk over
proposal
you.
is
He
40
doesn't care.
states already have price gouging proposals on the books. There's just not a federal law. And in fact, there's been bipartisan legislation, Republicans and Democrats in Congress, who have put forward suggestions that we take on corporate price gouging at the federal level. And so it's interesting.
This is the liberal narrative. It's price gouging. No, it's called Joe Biden, his first day in the office, stopped drilling on American soil. So now we get our fuel from other places and it's more expensive, which makes everything else more expensive. So he's a weasel. This is a typical Democrat lying weasel. That's what he is. That's what Kamala Harris is. That's what Joe Biden is. But you know why he's more of a weasel? Because these are the mouthpieces that go on the news stations that, spit out this narrative that the majority of the public believe.
That suddenly ideas that Republicans used to support are being attacked by Republicans once the Democratic nominee for president, Kamala Harris, proposes them. And so I think that there's some game playing happening here by those on the right.
Game playing
what the
by
vice
you.
president's talking about is easing the burden on people when corporations are charging too much than they should be on products in moments of vulnerability. I think we've seen this. You actually have seen a lot of conversation in the press and in the economic news over the last year or two about shrinkflation, for example, selling a smaller product
More
for the
fancy
same price
word.
as the larger product used to be. Well, those are the kind of corporate behavior that she's talking about wanting to take on in order to bring down prices for the American people.
Ian, before I let you go, I do have to ask you about the developing news right now. Hunter Biden in court on the tax-related charges that he is facing. We anticipate he's going to enter a plea deal. That has not happened yet, though. That is our reporting. That's our anticipation. As president, would Vice President Harris pardon him, or is that off the table?
Well, you've heard President Biden make the commitment that that wouldn't happen. I wouldn't imagine that changing with Vice President Harris.
Is she committed to that?
Obviously, the case is still ongoing, and we want to be really careful.
Oh
and
yeah, of course, because you can't answer
of
the
the court
question.
process. I don't think that this should be politicized from the Harris campaign. So
Understood. I mean, President Biden has taken it off the table. Has the vice president taken it off the table?
Well, I just answered. I said I think that she's not planning to pardon anyone. But again, I think it's important to understand there's no sentence or anything like that happening right now. And so, I would leave this question to the White House and to President Biden, and obviously to Hunter Biden and his personal team.
All right, Ian Sams, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time.
So there was the weasel Ian Sams, and in typical Democratic liberal fashion, it's the corporation's fault, it's the business's fault, it's Trump's fault, it's everybody else's fault except for the policies that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris created. And guess what? God forbid she wins the election, nothing is going to change. It's only going to get worse. So, Democrats, they take responsibility for nothing. Right? So the border being wide open, Trump hasn't been president for 4 years. Somehow that's Trump's fault. All the prices through the roof. Somehow that's Trump's fault because of the policies that he made during COVID, along with it's the corporation and the business's fault, but it has nothing to do with Joe Biden's policies about not drilling on American soil. It's an absolute disgrace. Ian Sams is a weasel. He's a communist, and Kamala Harris is a radical. And God forbid she wins, nothing will change. Trump is the only answer. Trump 2024.